try and trust even a suicidal person a little. I mean, locking them up or taking them out of their lives completely doesn't help. It should probably evolve more around supporting them in the little life they have created for themselves.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives. We almost never talk about it. We certainly do not talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, many of us, including me, are not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations, and hopefully better conversations with attempt survivors. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @Suicide Noted. And if you check the show notes, you'll find another way you can reach out to us through a recorded message. And in those same show notes, you'll see all kinds of other information, including our programs and presentations, as well as our new membership. Before I share more about that, special thanks to several people who have been helping the podcast out in recent weeks and months. Sharon and CD and Carrie and Danny and Anne, Alfred and Donna. Now, if you'd like to support the podcast, and there are several ways to do that these days, what we need most from you, what we're asking from our listeners, is to become a member. So you'll see a link where it says membership in the show notes. You can also head over to suicidenoted.supercast.com. This changes nothing as far as every Monday us releasing a new conversation, but there are some perks involved for your financial support. And you should know, for the month of March, we are offering a nice discount, so check it out. When I say we would like your financial support, I want to tell you exactly where that money will go. We're trying to reach more people in more places. You've heard me say that before. Why? To help them feel less shitty and less alone. And one of the ways we want to do that is to transcribe all of our episodes and translate them as well. So with audio and video and text in not only English but other languages, there will be many more people who have access to these conversations with survivors. And there are a lot of people who need to hear them, I think. So, if that's something that resonates with you, head over to suicidenoted.supercast.com. That link is also in the show notes. Now, back to today's episode. We are talking about suicide, as we always do every week. May not be a good fit for everyone, so please take that into account before or as you listen. But I do hope you listen, because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Anne. Anne lives in Switzerland, and she is a suicide attempt survivor. Hey, Anne.
How's it going?
I'm going okay. I'm very nervous, actually. How are you? I wanted to be really organized about this, but now I feel I'm like all over the place. So interrupt me if I get lost somewhere.
Oh, don't worry. That's my job. Your job is not to give us a 1-hour monologue. My job is to have a conversation with you. Are you by any chance Swiss German?
I'm actually German, but I moved here like 11 years ago, based in Zurich. In Switzerland, that's the German part.
Gotcha. So I'm talking with Anne here, who's German, living in Switzerland, and there's a white room with the nice little sort of almost graffiti type piece of artwork behind her. You had said that you're nervous because you want to be organized. What is it that you want to be organized about?
Well, I'm like in my late 30s, so I've been through a lot of meltdowns and attempts. It's very hard to focus on let's say the relevant parts of the story.
That is, I never like to compare, but I don't think it's uncommon for people to feel nervous. Or when you say you've been through a lot of stuff, what do you mean?
Well, like I'm more or less chronically suicidal, although I might not look like it. But I've been struggling with it more or less since I'm 14. So I kind of distinguish between actual suicide attempts and just like high risk behavior / meltdowns that made it like very close calls. There've been a lot over the years. The pattern kind of repeats itself.
When you say that you don't think you look like you're suicidal or chronically or passively suicidal, What do you think people look like?
I'm just interpreting from the feedback I'm getting. So usually when I tell people, not too close friends, they are really surprised that I used to be suicidal. I usually don't talk too much about it being chronically because that puts a lot of pressure on people or stresses them out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reaction tends to be a surprise. Until last year, I used to think that at some point I would overcome it and I would never have to think about it again, or I would have it under control. But I actually realized it's always in the background. And as long as enough things are going well in my life, it's fine. But if there are like two or three things going wrong at the same time, I'm in deep trouble. It is chronic and I think healthier for me to take it seriously rather than to think I've overcome it and it'll never come back again.
Were two or three or more things happening to you when you decided to look for a podcast about suicide?
I actually looked for it last year. I've been listening to it since May 2020. 22. Sorry.
May 2022, over a year ago. Wow.
I don't sleep well at night, so I always listen to podcasts. And I actually found that one really comforting. It's not very dramatic, and no one is shocked by the stories, and they tend to be very honest. Every story is very different. So I found it very comforting that there are other people out there struggling with the same issues, even though it's in a different way than I'm struggling.
I wonder how many people, whether they're doctors or others, who would recommend, if you're having a hard time going to sleep, you should listen to suicide attempt survivor stories on a podcast. I wonder if it affects your dreams at all at night.
Yeah, you're thinking about it anyways, right? So there's no point in distracting yourself. I found actually dealing with a topic a lot more effective.
I know, but not everybody feels that way. What was the difference of you listening and then deciding to reach out and talk?
It felt natural because I've listened to so many episodes. It felt like being passed the torch. And the second reason was actually I'm realizing I'm actually feeling a lot of shame that I'm dealing with this. I mean, you have like two options, right? You're not talking about it, and then you're stuck with people around you who know 50% of you. Mm-hmm. You talk about it and you risk losing friends for several reasons, for different reasons. I felt like talking about it would help me getting rid of some of the shame at least.
Yeah. Now, how many people do you know in your life that know you're talking to me about it?
Well, actually, at this stage, there are 3 people. So my husband knows we're talking right now. That's like my safety net for tonight.
And you have friends or family?
No, I don't involve my family in anything. I tend to talk to friends. There happen to be 2 friends who know we're talking, not like now, but they know the concept and they know I'm doing the podcast.
You still angry about Germany's World Cup?
No, because I'm supporting Switzerland.
Fair enough. You traded sides. So how many suicide attempts, however you define that, do you have in your life?
I don't know. I actually can't count them anymore. If you include like the meltdowns, probably more than 10.
Do you remember the first time you thought about suicide, and then second, the first time you tried to end your life?
Kind of started when I was 14. I didn't really categorize it as suicide or depression or anything. That to me, that was always a thing that people with real problems have. I just felt I'm a bit strange and off. Something's wrong. Yeah, so I basically started cutting myself a lot, picking up an eating disorder, and I started taking random pills I found at home. So without any regard to what might happen by taking them. Yeah, I always felt like I would want to do it, but I'm not sure how, and I'm not sure if I have the courage to do it. And that really drove me mad because I felt like I keep thinking about it without ever doing it, which is very stupid to do.
Almost like a hell.
Yeah, it's like you're being trapped between life and death, right? You can't manage to organize your life properly. You're not getting anywhere, but you're not dying either.
When was the first? So 14, and you said, was it around that same time or shortly after? Sorry if I missed this, that you actually did try.
No, I just kind of played around with it a lot. I didn't know how, because I'm a late 90s kid in the suburbs, so there wasn't a lot of information around, neither in a good or a bad way. Yeah, so I just kind of toyed around with it and didn't know what to do with it, didn't know how to talk about it. So I just, I don't know, I just filed it as me being a bit weird and not really being good at life, basically. I didn't have the easiest, let's say, upbringing. Mm-hmm. So I always had that dream in mind. Once I finish school, I will go to university, new city, new life, and everything will change and get better.
Magic.
Yeah. So I actually managed to do that, and it went great for like 6 months. And I did okay at university. I really liked it. I did find some friends. I had my own flat, but I wasn't really prepared for the depression kicking back in. I thought this would be done by now because I've changed everything around me. I struggled a lot. I was struggling to pay attention at university because I was basically thinking about how shitty my life is and why am I still bothering? I'm never going to get anywhere. Lonely and a complete idiot anyways. And that kind of continued. And I always had this strange feeling of being isolated and alone, and even in company of people I liked.
At any point from like 14 to college, seek any counseling or therapy?
No, because I didn't think it was necessary. I always thought I need to pull myself together a bit more and work a little harder to move on.
You weren't trying? Or you just think you could have done more?
No, I was very performance oriented. So if school was okay, it kind of meant I'm doing okay in life. So I went into complete meltdowns when I realized I don't have like the concentration level to work or to study. It never occurred to me that I need help or that something might be wrong. I just felt like I need to try harder and it'll be fine. And if I can't do that, I'm just somehow incapable.
What were you studying?
Business, so not very helpful to mental health.
Maybe true. Was there anybody in your life, teachers, friends, colleagues, anybody who said, you know what, Anne, you don't seem to be doing so well. You might want to talk to somebody.
No. Not at the time. I knew my friends for like half a year, so it's not a very deep connection, although it's going well. And I think it takes a while until you figure out that someone is really struggling when you actually are social and like partying.
Easy to kind of cover up, right? You're busy, you're drinking. And was it at that point in your life when you attempted? When was the first attempt?
That must have been I think it was 20, but it was a very calculated one. So basically, I did feel like my whole life was falling apart again, and I was like digressing to that teenage stage, and I was kind of in a panic, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. It was like my head was tortured, or I was torturing myself in my head. It was just really tiring. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to reach out for help. I remember I was at a party with like most people I cared about, and I was really exhausted by weeks of suicide thoughts and stuff. I remember at that exact moment that I took the decision because I was just there completely zoned out. I felt like, what's the point of still trying? I mean, I'm not having fun. It's not getting anywhere. And then I kind of watched everyone having fun from a distance. And my logic conclusion was everyone else is fine without me. So what's the point of staying? I could just quit. So I figured there are two reasons that like keep me in the in-between world, the space between.
It's copyrighted and trademarked.
So can I still use it, or will that cost me?
Any guest of the Suicide Noted podcast can, of course.
All right. I figured a very rational conclusion. If I managed to ruin university and all my friendships, I would be ready to leave that space and at least make a decision. So I did that. I told basically everyone I'm quitting university. I've got other things planned, which technically wasn't a lie, but it meant I couldn't go back to university. Then ruining friendships, it's shockingly easy.
Totally agree with you. For me too. If someone were to say to me, I'm quitting university, I've got other plans, and you know, and I know what those plans were, I might say, oh, really? What are those plans?
I think I said something along the lines of, I'm working on it. I will tell you when I'm ready, but I'm still working on it. A lot of great decision making went on there. I managed to do that, like stage one of the project. And then it took me like another month to take up the courage to actually do it. So I had a very strict protocol of when to take which pill and when to drink vodka, so it should work.
Where did you get the pills from? Because you weren't on medication.
No, never.
So this is people you know or you're buying under the table, so to speak.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, a little gray market or black market. And at the time you're in Germany, not Switzerland, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You're saving up, you got the pills, you got some booze. Where are we at? Is it about early 2000s, mid 2000s?
Yeah, mid 2000s, like 2005.
You're in your early to mid 20s at that point, right? Early 20s?
Yeah, I'm early 20s.
Yeah, what happened that night?
Well, I actually done a lot of research about on the amount of pills I should take. I can't have been off by that much, actually. I must have done pretty well. I actually wanted, that's the amount of self-care I had for myself. I wanted my last evening like to be a really nice one. I did watch a nice movie.
Which movie?
That part I can't remember. The more important part was I put together a playlist. So by the time I realized I was about to doze off, that I would be listening to good music. That was a lot more important to me.
Do you remember any of the songs on the playlist?
Yeah, I've actually collected them. And I still remember the song I heard when I woke up. And years after that, I got sick when hearing that song somewhere. So I took everything, basically. I realized, okay, I'm about to doze off, put on my playlist. And I actually thought I had made it. I was really sure this was going to work. Kind of a shock. I kind of woke up very disoriented the next morning. Music was still playing. And for a short moment, I was considering whether there's an afterlife, and I've arrived there.
I know you're not in the home you're in now because you're in a different country, but at the time, are you like in your apartment living alone?
Yeah. So basically, it took me a while to get to my senses. I realized, fuck, I'm still here. How is this possible? I cried for a bit, then I had to laugh. Then I felt the worst hangover I felt in my life. I kept throwing up for like 3 days straight. So yeah, I must have slightly over or underdosed. Maybe I've misjudged my weight. That might have happened. Maybe I was too optimistic there.
So that's a tough day the next day, emotionally, physically.
Yes.
Do you tell anybody?
No. During that time, I hadn't given up on the project just yet.
When you woke up, you thought, I'm not done with this. We're going to try again.
Not on that day, because I still felt like I was dying for the next 3 days. I was just miserable. Then it took me like another week until I figured, okay, I still can't go back to university. I still have no friends. So one more try. I can give it one more try. Then I basically got sharp knives because I thought the pills thing didn't really work out for me, but I can still manage to self-injure myself. I might try that. And sensible decision making. So I basically experimented for like a month how and where to cut myself and at which emotional stage it's the easiest.
So you had that set up, and now we're still in 2005, more or less, in Germany, and you try for the second time. This time there's going to be blood.
Yeah, so I tried again, but I found actually having a meltdown is easy because you're like, yeah, your chances are like 50 or 60%. So you can leave it like to the universe to keep you alive or not. It's a lot harder to be like 100%. That takes a lot of self-manipulation if you're like really sure this is going to work.
But what do you mean when you say meltdown?
Well, meltdown for me is like, that happened to me a lot. Like you're really emotional and take like a potentially lethal amount of pills, or you cut yourself, or you do both. You're just taking the risk. That's like meltdown to me. So basically, I did cut my wrist, and just before I dozed off, I realized I kind of nailed the spot, but I wasn't sure whether it was enough. But at this moment, I couldn't be bothered to actually make sure this is going to work. So I basically took chances. I woke up the next morning again, finding out I'm even too stupid to kill myself. I don't even have that in me.
When you try that way, I imagine you're bloodied up, scarred up, mangled up, something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like painful.
No, if you cut deep enough, it's actually quite a rush. Not trying to advertise it, but
if you were to show me your wrist right now, would I see a scar?
Well, actually, that one, it's very old. If you know something about self-injury, yeah, you know exactly what it is. And actually, I had to cut on my right hand because the left hand was so wounded, I couldn't find like the veins anymore.
So is it safe to say in this period of your life, you were not somebody who just wanted the pain to go away. You wanted to die.
Yeah.
As you were, especially in the last attempt, you were cutting, and were you also drinking?
Yeah, because that I realized made me more emotional and made it easier.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes people say they're so very, before and during, so very like tunnel vision. Is that how you felt? Or were you also able to think of other things like, what about school? Or what about my family? Or was it just boom, done?
I did think about it, but I always got back to the point, oh yeah, I've burned that bridge. I can't go back. So this is the path. That's what all that preparation was meant for.
But you lived, obviously.
Yes.
And the problem is, well, I don't know if it's the problem. If someone tells me I've been struggling since 14, in my early 20s, I tried twice in a short period of time. You know what I'm thinking, right? When's the next time? Unless something radical changes, there's going to be a third time.
Yeah, but it changed. So basically, I got out of the second one, and I realized I don't have the strength to try a third time. I can't go back to life. I didn't know what to do. So I basically took like the bus to the city center, looked for a therapist, and just showed up there. Yeah, that's the first wise decision I made in that time.
Yeah, like what was the difference of you finally going to get some professional help there, do you think? It was just age or experience or fear?
It was just pure desperation, because I realized I wouldn't be able to do anything on my own. And
but you know, that tells me something, and I'm probably simplifying things. People that go to get that kind of help want to live.
So the way I think about it now, most of the time, is I always want to live, and I really love life. I mean, I really appreciate everything. Still, it kind of doesn't stop, like the suicidal thoughts, pain and stuff. I think when sometimes it's just off balance, right? So when the pain outweighs everything else, you just get kind of lost and kind of lose control over that area. And that's the way I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I think it's hard for a lot of people to understand that you can be doing okay and feel that way. How many people know about those two attempts?
Well, at the time, not an awful lot. Like now, it's like such a long time ago. It's like more than 15 years. I'm not sure. Like here around me, like maybe 6 people. Yeah. But I mean, that's a story you can tell like within 10 minutes. That odd thing that you did like 15 years ago.
I mean, I suppose you're the first person I've talked to in Switzerland about this. So I don't know how things work in Switzerland generally. It's kind of a conservative country in some ways. Other ways, it's quite liberal, I know. But I don't know what your social circles are like. I know you probably married somebody who's somewhat understanding, right? Or you wouldn't have married him.
He's very understanding. Yeah, I got lucky there.
Well, he did too. How was the therapy then when you went back those years ago to try to get help?
Oh, actually, like the therapist came to the conclusion that I really should be in a like mental hospital because I'm a danger to myself. But they actually asked me to go there by myself to kind of introduce myself. So I did that, and just when I arrived, I got cold feet, and I backed out, and I went home like, no, I can try a third time. I'm not going to like this psychiatric hospital. Not gonna do it.
How long did they want you to stay there?
It's not like a fixed program. They take you on, and I think the average stay is like 2 to 3 months. But I didn't end up going there. So basically, therapists had calls between themselves and decided to call the police. I heard something weird at the door, someone messing with my lock. So I opened the door, and it was like the criminal police in front of my flat. And they told me, yeah, the therapist was worried about you. We're going to take you to a mental hospital, and they're going to check you out. At that point, I thought, like, I'm going to talk my way out of it easily. Like, no one's going to keep me there. Yeah, of course, that didn't work. So I was like in like closed psychiatry for like a week, which is really a completely useless institution. Then I was transferred to like a more therapeutic hospital, which are actually pretty good in Germany, to be honest. They kept me on there for like 7 months. I tried to leave before, but they kind of suggested that they might get a warrant for me to stay because I was not so stable. So yeah, I spent 7 months there. The good thing about staying there is like you have a safe base to build up your life again. So I tried to register with university. I'd lost a year, but I was able to start again. Yeah, you can slowly kind of start to go back to normal life.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. I actually was the longest staying patient there for quite a bit.
Did you make some friends there?
Unfortunately, I picked up a relationship there, which is not a good idea, I realized later on. Yeah, I made friends and I actually ended up with a relationship. Didn't last in the end.
Well, I know. You would have said he was your husband.
He's my ex-husband. So.
Oh, you have two husbands, your ex and now current?
Yes.
All right. So that's a long time to be somewhere. So when you got out, what year are we talking about when you got out of that place for all those months?
2006, I think.
16 or 17 years until this day. How many suicide attempts have you had or more major meltdowns, however you want to define all this stuff?
I'm not sure. Maybe 10, 11.
When was the last one?
Last summer, actually. At the same time, that was the scariest one for me, actually, and my husband as well.
Okay. I want to hear about that. I'm also wondering, like, how often are these meltdowns happening?
So after I got out of the hospital, it was more frequent because I wasn't really stable yet, and dealing with like exam pressure and stuff was really tough. That kind of stabilized over time, so that got better. After I finished university, it happened like once a year. So like the breaks in between got bigger, I felt, because you kind of get used to certain kinds of pressures. And only if something new comes up or something extraordinary happens, you're kind of put off balance. So after that, I was quite okay for a very long time. I'm not completely sure why. But last summer, so like most of my life, I couldn't remember like my childhood. I had like a very vague memory of what it was like. And for some reason, like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like a lot of memories were coming back of me being abused in all different kinds of ways. I don't know. It was like the doors to hell suddenly opened. Like this depressive, suicidal thing got stronger and stronger. And all I could think about was like, I've got this hell inside of me. There's nothing I can do to really battle it. It'll always be with me. And whatever I do to cope will never, ever be enough. That kind of stuck with me for a long time. And then after a while, I was convinced this is going to be my last summer. And at some point I will like be emotional enough to actually try again. So I collected some strong pills I found at home. I had very sharp, short knives. So basically, I kept them in a small thing I kept carrying around with me all day because I knew that the time would come when I'll be ready and I'll just try for that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, my husband picked up on it and he just removed it without telling me anything. At some point, I felt like this is the time I'm ready, and I looked for my stuff and it was gone. I had a major meltdown. So I went home, got into a random argument with him just to make sure he's going to leave the house, which he did. I couldn't find my stuff anywhere. So I just took other random pills and a bottle of rum, and I basically drowned all of that down. Yeah, apparently that wasn't enough either. I only, the next day, I kind of looked at what I had taken and what would be lethal. Again, it turned out I wasn't off by that much. So it wasn't enough, but it actually could have worked.
Not your time, but all the other attempts were also the same method?
Usually a mixture of pills and cutting.
You know what? You're not very good at that.
I know.
So your husband found out about that night?
Yeah, because I was kind of completely drunk and half passed out when he got home.
When you think back to any of your attempts, do you wish any of them, or perhaps all of them, had worked?
Like as of today, no. I kind of try to look at it like it's not something that I want. It's something that haunts me, and I try to get away of constantly. I have to work a lot around to not to get drawn back in. I usually don't think I wish they had work. I usually just think, oh God, why there are so many car accidents. Why am I not involved in one? That's all like the common thought pattern.
Is there anything that you do in your life that makes you feel a little less shitty?
A lot, actually. I think all my activities evolve around that. So I'm actually very proud that I've been constantly working for like 10 years in 2 different jobs. So that's rather unusual and to hang on to it. I do a lot of sports. I have a rather stable circle of friends. I do engage in club activities and stuff. Yeah, so I'm doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do to stay out of trouble. The issue is more, as soon as I try to calm down or have a relaxed moment, it kind of catches up with you. So then you have to come up with a new project or a new stupid thing to do.
Do you think that whether it was from a doctor or just from whatever other place or resource, that you have a diagnosis that you think is correct?
So the diagnosis then was borderline. With the description they have now, they evolved over time. I think that kind of fits. But it keeps changing, right? Whenever you think you've solved a problem or you've progressed, then it kind of progresses with you, and then you have to come up with something new.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, I know you can only speak about your own experience. How do you think Switzerland handles mental health crises, suicide?
I have never been in the system here, actually. I'm not sure. So last summer, I actually did research what was possible. And my issue with like interventions is that they kind of take you out of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get out, you have to build up your life again from scratch. I don't think it's the most helpful way to do it. You kind of have to make a decision to give up on everything you've kind of achieved and built up just to survive. That's actually the exact reason why I decided not to get any help. Because I felt like I'm rather going to die than seeing my whole life going up in flames again. I'm not doing it again.
It's complicated and confusing.
Yeah.
Are there any myths that you think are bullshit?
I'm not sure. You know, all that stuff, the regular advice like work out, be social and stuff, all of it helps. It does, but still it cannot be enough. So you can do all the right things, but it can still hit you. for me at least, doing yoga and like finding the path to yourself is not the solution, because relaxing puts me into hell. So, but that's an advice I get a lot, because I'm always rather intense and stressed out, but that's on purpose actually. And I rather enjoy that. Yeah, other than that, I feel like most people don't want to die. They just don't want to put up with the life they've been given or they have to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. I have one more question, but before I ask that, I want to ask you if you have anything else you want to share, especially because you said when we first started talking, less than an hour ago, by the way, you had a lot on your mind. You were trying to organize a lot. And I'm sure some of it came out in our conversation, but there might be stuff that we didn't address that you might want to bring up.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to, actually, I haven't really found a solution to that. I'm not really sure how to deal with it with other people. Like, you're putting a lot of pressure on the people around you if you talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's maybe not the nicest thing to do.
How to deal with it and how to talk to people about it.
Yeah, and for them to let them kind of notify them, look, I'm kind of unstable and you have to expect anything from me.
Mm-hmm.
So, kinds of problems. I'm an expert at either surviving or I'm really lousy at my attempts. I feel like you should try and trust even a suicidal person a little. I mean, locking them up or taking them out of their lives completely doesn't help. It should probably evolve more around supporting them in the little life they have created for themselves. Otherwise, you're putting them back to square one.
Or like square zero.
Yeah.
How do you say zero in German?
Null.
Ooh, very different. Okay. How do you say suicide in German?
That's the same. That's suicide.
We took that from you. You didn't take it from us. I haven't asked one question I always ask. Do you know what it is?
Would I make it to 39?
June 2023, you'll be 39. June 2024, you'll be 40. You're married. Do you have any children?
No, that's not really responsible for me to have children, to be honest.
Let's not say 39. Let's go 40. It's a little rounder number. Will you be alive at 40 years old, June 2024?
I'm not sure whether I'll have any more like meltdowns or attempts, but I'm pretty confident that like either the incapable side or the strong side will always be like a tiny tad stronger. It probably won't be a straight line and it won't be like a simple path, but I'm pretty sure I'll still be around.
Definitely not a straight line or a simple path. But maybe sometimes that's all we need is for that other part just to be a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And then you're still around. And hopefully you're doing okay in that time, ideally, right? I mean, because nobody wants to be suffering or in a lot of pain for so long. Nobody. Do you think when this podcast, our conversation comes out, slightly edited conversation, and the world hears it on some Monday in the future, you or anybody in your life might actually listen to it?
Well, I'm pretty sure my husband will listen to it because he knows so much about it. About the rest, I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind yet.
You've got time. Well, Anne, you rock. Thank you very much for reaching out and connecting and talking and being open. And I hope you feel good about what you shared because, at least from my point of view, it was very, very clear and organized, which is important for a podcast so people can hear it and understand it.
Perfect.
Awesome. I hope your evening, late evening now in Switzerland goes well. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Ciao.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. And special thanks to Anne in Switzerland. Thank you, Anne. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. And remember, we would love your support. Check out the link in the show notes where it says membership. Or if you prefer, go over to suicidenoted.supercast.com. And if it's something you'd like to help us with, well, we would be very grateful and we would take your help. And that is all for episode number 150. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.